Damn, those alien bastards are gonna pay for shooting up my ride.
Hey there, Icarus here. Now, to the untrained eye, what you're currently looking at may seem like standard Duke Nukem 3D, albeit running on a source port by the name of eDuke32. However, if you peer just a little closer, you may notice that the enemies, pickups, certain environmental sprites, heck, even the fire and the explosions are in fact made up of cubes. More specifically, voxels. This is Voxel Duke 3D, a mod by Chillo that has painstakingly recreated those original 2D sprites in voxel form in order to retain that crispy visual consistency that means that Voxel Duke can essentially preserve that original visual aesthetic while occasionally surprising you with the fact that these models now have full 3D rotation. In my experience, this is most keenly felt when you've actually downed an enemy. And this is due to the fact that in the original form, Duke 3D will just have a flat 2D sprite for whatever pose it lands in, whereas in Voxel Duke, you can pretty much admire your handiwork from any old angle.
Nothing at all! Nothing at all!
And this stuff in particular reveals the true extent of the work that's gone into Voxel Duke 3D, because otherwise there's not actually any reference for what these characters are meant to look like from these other angles, so a lot of interpretive work has had to go in to making them look right. This goes for a lot of other 2D sprites throughout the course of Duke 3D. The cocooned women, for example, are only typical flat billboard sprites, but here you got depth, you've got rotation, and yes, I know what you're all thinking if you choose to visit the strip club. Yes, the same applies here too. But the crux of all this for me is that it is applied so effectively and so well that at times I entirely forget that I'm even playing Voxel Duke 3D. Now granted, it's not a 100% seamless illusion, but I don't think it was ever intended to. You'll catch moments of strange rotation where the effect reveals itself, enemies by their 3D nature can occasionally clip through geometry, and every now and again you might just get a pig cop doing something strange like this. The most surprising for me, though, is just the granularity of what's been voxelized here. I mean, I can certainly appreciate the effort that's gone into voxelizing the pickups, the ammo, the weapons, but what really impressed me is the really tiny touches. The security cams, for example, the taps in the bathroom, the spray of water from a broken toilet. It's not over the top, it's not in your face, it just fits, it just works, it's nice. Crucially, it doesn't detract or take away from that core appeal of Duke 3D, which is that it still plays pretty flippin' great. Even today, it's a joy to go back to. And what started as a brief return just to get a feel for what Voxel Duke 3D adds to the experience, I found myself most of the way through episode 2 by the time I had to call it a day. Now, all of that aside, some of you may also be aware that this isn't the first time that someone has attempted to add a more tangible 3D nature to Duke Nukem 3D. And for the sake of comparison, I also decided to download the Duke 3D High Resolution Pack. And, it's a little bit of visual whiplash, that much is assuredly true. Now, don't get me wrong, for all of you who think this looks great, that's fine. Personally, this is not my preferred way to visually experience Duke 3D. Now, objectively, I think I can say they've done a pretty bang-up job here. The models for the enemies are actually pretty good. The upscale textures are, pretty damn clean. Heck, even all of these posters across that first level of LA Meltdown have been recreated to be extremely legible and occasionally quite distracting. But ultimately, I think that's the crux of my problem with the high resolution pack. It's distracting. Sure, you got the high-res textures, the upscaled models, even more sophisticated lighting. Heck, you've even got shadows for Duke. But aesthetically, and this is where it comes down to a more subjective opinion on how I feel Duke 3D should look, personally, I feel like the high-resolution pack robs the visuals of Duke 3D of its grit and its texture, and somewhat ironically, it has the overall effect of making everything feel kind of flat. Now, obviously, I don't mean that in the sense of 2D to 3D. I mean that more in the sense of everything feeling slightly too smoothed out or certainly overlit. But really, I can't really call this look at high-resolution packs visuals complete until I pay at least one more visit to the strip club, and oh boy. You know how the nipple tassels are at least recognizable as such, even in the voxel version of Duke 3D? In the high resolution pack, it just looks like they have really long floppy nipples, and it's very alarming. Very alarming. You're gonna have to use your imagination here, because I'm not sure I can get away with showing you on YouTube, but trust me, once you've seen it, you can't ever unsee it. But yeah, as you might imagine, if I had to choose between the two of these methods, I would definitely pick Voxel Duke 3D every time. No big offense meant to the high resolution pack. It's clearly a lot of work that's gone into it. It's just that, yeah, on a personal aesthetic preference front, I can safely say that Voxel Duke 3D is the mod for me. Now, you might be thinking it's all well and good that the original Duke episodes can benefit from this voxel-based glow-up, but what about custom maps? What about custom campaigns? Well, I'm pleased to say that yes, you can indeed load your own custom user maps and play them with Voxel Duke 3D. But of course, the natural caveat here is that if there's any custom assets in these user-generated maps, then they're probably not going to be covered by voxelization. Same thing goes for any custom assets brought in from the likes of, say, Blood or Shadow Warrior. It probably goes without saying that you're not really going to be able to tag team this mod with something more substantial, say like the AMC-TC or Alien Armageddon, but at the very least with these more grounded custom maps and campaigns, you'll have the opportunity to compare and contrast between voxelized assets and non-voxelized assets. And even further to that, especially here in the map that I'm showcasing, Shaky Grounds, you'll be able to see how far the voxelization stretches, because if I'm not mistaken, there's a few standard enemy types throughout the course of this that actually receive a slight recolor, and it's even reflected in the voxelized versions of the sprites, which I find fascinating. I mean, is that something that needs to be accounted for ahead of time, compatibility-wise, or is it something that the Voxel Duke 3D mod can actually do natively? I'd love to know. But overall, as I've already mentioned a few times, this is a mod that doesn't really screw with the core formula. It just gives a little bit more visual pop, and if you're in the mood for that, that's great. I know there's going to be a bunch of naysayers out there going, yeah, well, why even bother if it's something you barely notice? It's fun, damn it. Let us have fun. But yes, if you too, dear viewer, are interested in this notion of fun, you can find the link to this here mod in the description below. And, if your curiosity is going to get the better of you, you'll find a link for the high resolution pack too. But in any case, I sincerely hope you've enjoyed this video. Feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments, like, subscribe, all of that algorithmically beneficial stuff. And if you fancy supporting the channel more directly, there's memberships right here on the channel, via Patreon. Whatever you choose, it'll help me keep the lights on and gain you early access to any new videos. But until next time, this has been Mr. Icarus. Thank you very much for watching. Icarus out.